I don't need to go over that whole spiel again, do I?
No.
Okay.
I didn't want to do it when people are coming on. So I just
Oh,
wanted to
okay.
make sure that we were all.
Oh, okay. Well, I see a couple new people jumped on, but everyone here is pretty much of it. I will just reiterate the last part, that this is a discussion overview for the members of the committee. It is not an open hearing, but again, with the exception of the point of personal privilege for legislators if they wish to give a background on their bill. And I believe Delegate Carr was about to do that for us. Delegate Carr?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, good morning, colleagues. Great to be with you. Thank you for having me. I'm mainly here to answer any questions about PGMC 103-22, but this bill came out unanimously of the Montgomery County delegation with an amendment. It basically just puts in an annual certification requirement for 3 bi-county agencies. And the amendment just gives a little bit of flexibility. These 3 agencies are not identical. Some are large, some are small, and gives a little flexibility to customize the, lobbying, financial disclosure, conflict of interest regulations for each agency as they get reviewed by the State Ethics Commission. There was no opposition to the bill, and happy to answer any questions.
So I have a question, but not necessarily for you, Delegate Carr. I believe we have a representative. Is it Angela Boyd with Maryland Park and Planning? I thought I saw, oh no, I'm sorry, it's Kayleen. I saw, there we go.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, and I don't want to assume, is Park and Planning in agreement with this legislation or?
Yes, we have no opposition to the bill.
No opposition, okay. Is there any discussion, Madam Vice Chair?
Yes, I have a question. I'm just trying to figure out what is the problem that we're trying to resolve? I mean,
I agree.
Yeah, it's, yeah. Can you give the background and why you think this is necessary?
Yes, thank you, Delegate, for that excellent question. So in the state law, we require all of our counties and municipalities to have local ethics ordinances covering financial interest and lobbying. And so all of our local governments, they're required to annually certify with the State Ethics Commission. So we're just taking that same concept and applying it to our bi-county agencies, also are required to have these regulations. And I'll give you 2 examples of why this bill is needed. For example, WSSC has very strong, very robust lobbying regulations that are very close to the state lobbying regulations. So they're sort of the example. MNC PPC did not have strong lobbying regulations, and a citizen approached them with questions, and they're in the process of fixing and revising and updating their lobbying regulations to meet what is already required in state law. So that's example number 1. Example number 2, MNC PPC has a very strong financial disclosure form. They use the identical form that the state uses. WSSC was actually missing a piece on their financial disclosure form, which they did fix when I pointed it out to them. So the point is, it shouldn't take a citizen, it shouldn't take a legislator pointing out these shortcomings. We should have it just be automatic, the way it is for the counties and the municipalities, by just having them certify what they're already required to meet.
So then their council then will submit a form or something to the state saying that we're doing exactly what the state is requiring us to do. Is that how that would work then?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Delegate Healy.
Yeah, I have a couple questions. One is, I know you're saying that the municipalities do this, but they don't all comply perfectly either. I'm not sure that adding another layer of legislation gets people to comply with the laws that are already on the books. I think it does take some kind of enforcement action. If they're responding to citizens who just make inquiries, then I think they're a responsive agency and they will do what it's brought to their attention, they will take care of it. I'm not sure that another bill like this is actually necessary. Can you, I'd just like your response to that because I want to understand better.
Sure. So in the case of counties and municipalities, they do have to annually certify. And of course, they are given some flexibility to customize their ethics ordinances. And then municipalities can get waivers on, full or partial waiver. But I think that annual certification process, ensures another set of eyes from the state commission looking over the local governments. And so any sort of shortcomings are more likely to be, reviewed, pointed out to the municipality, hey, you might want to correct
Okay.
this one provision, whatsoever. But that step was lacking for the bi-county agencies. And in the case of the ethics regulations for park and planning, those were really, that was a large lapse, not a small lapse, in terms of the the lobbying regulations not being, similar to the state lobbying regulations, which is already required in the law. But I guess my argument is that, it shouldn't take a citizen to be the police of, when a bi-county agency is not doing what they're already required to do. And a mechanism for that is to just mimic what we do for counties and municipalities and just have this annual certification requirement, which is, according to the 3 bi-county agencies, is something they can easily do, in their annual report. It won't add work to them, but it will add this additional set of eyes.
It will add work to the state, though. They'll have to, there's an issue now. We don't have enough state employees to do the work that they're already supposed to be doing.
Oh, it will add another set of eyes, the experts who are in the State Ethics Commission, and they are expert at this, and they're easily able to, I think, because they're already doing this for 157 municipalities and the 24 counties, including Baltimore City. So it's not burdensome for them to also do this for the 3 bi-county agencies who largely comply, but there are occasional gaps.
Right.
And I think this provides an
Thank you very
incentive.
much. You've answered my question. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you,
Is there
Delegate.
Is there any further, actually, based on Delegate Healy's question, I was trying to, so you mentioned, Delegate Carr, it shouldn't require a citizen to make a claim. So if I missed it, I apologize. Has there been an issue where someone has?
Yes, there was a very serious lapse on the behalf of Park and Planning, where their lobbying regulations were insufficient, not similar to state lobbying regulations, as is already required in the law. And it took a citizen to point that out and to get them, and they're fixing the problem. But our citizens shouldn't be,
Got it.
the lobbying police, the ethics regulation police, to get those corrections made. It should be more automatic, like it is for our counties and
I
municipalities.
just wanted to know if there was an actual instance, and you said there was. So,
Sorry.
Madam Vice Chair.
I have one more question. So why wouldn't then the Ethics Commission then point out that that this is a problem or an issue with these agencies? I understand what you're saying about an individual or a citizen should not have to point it out, but people make mistakes all the time, and it gets pointed out and then you correct it, and it sounds like that's what's happening. But it seems to me that perhaps the lapse is with the Ethics Commission as opposed to the agencies not following through or making sure that all of these things are done as required.
Yes, Delegate, that's a really good point. And my argument is that this bill enables that to happen by having this certification requirement that will trigger the Ethics Commission to be aware of this, and it will remind the bi-county agencies to ensure that they're in compliance.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Delegate Jones, Delegate Williams?
No.
Okay, all the questions been answered. As chair, I do not do that, or I am not in the position. Is there a motion on PGMC 103? Okay, okay, counsel, I should say. Not the attorney. Where would this place? This is a first for me. So having said that, Mr. Brittner.
So the options are the committee could move forward with a motion for an unfavorable, favorable, or no recommendation at all. If the motion is put forward and it fails 3 times, then automatically on the third, if a third motion is put on the table and it fails, then the bill automatically moves out of committee unfavorably.
Understood. With that said, because of our position and point of personal privilege, I will ask Delegate Carr, based on those options, what is your, if you would like to withdraw this legislation, or we can, if you would like to work on it further and we can have further discussion, I will give you that option so that we do not move on a motion right now.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. So, I mean, I'm happy to entertain an amendment. I'm not hearing an amendment from the committee members, but if someone has one, I would, be glad to consider that. I would really leave it up to the wisdom of this committee of, what you want to do with the bill.
Okay.
Whether you think it's
Okay. So thank you.
policy or
So-
not.
Okay. So with that said, I'm going to move in my capacity as a chair to put this legislation on hold. I'm going to table it for this week. And should I have further inquiries, or the vice chair or members of this committee, we will be sure to be in touch regarding this. So right now I'm going to have this as held for at least 1 week. And from then we will definitely move forward on taking action on this bill.
Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Carr. Our next bill is, and our last bill would be PGMC 109, which is the WSSC Plumbing and Fuel Gas Services, Licenses and Penalties. It says here the sponsors, the delegation on behalf of WSSC. Do we have, oh, there we go. Mr. Guy Andes, if you would like to give I read but if you could just give it a more brief summary for the members. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Guy Andes, Government Affairs Manager for WSSC, here in support of PGMC 10922. The proposed legislation will grant WSSC Water the authority to impose a penalty not exceed $5,000 for each violation to persons who violate the provisions of the WSSC Plumbing and Fuel Gas Code. Simply put, this bill puts us on parity with the State Plumbing Board. As you are aware, WSSC is the regulatory authority for plumbing and gas fitting within the sanitary district, which is Montgomery and Prince George's counties. We find that our current fine structure, which is a progressive fine structure, where a person can be fined up to $1,000 on the 4th offense, simply is not a big enough deterrent to deter individuals from violating the fuel and gas code. We ask for your support for the bill, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Is this an ongoing issue?
We do have issues where individuals are violating the plumbing and fuel gas code. You have instances where people are pulling permits for unlicensed plumbers. And then the fine structure is so small that they just pass that on to the unlicensed plumber and then passes on to the consumer. The consumer ends up sometimes gets a finished product that's not up to code, and then it causes problems on the back end. So it's just a deterrent to ensure that folks who are getting plumbing services get those services from a licensed plumber.
Okay, I'm going to start with the vice chair and then delegate Ely.
So when you say individuals, are you speaking of residents who may be doing some work in their home, or are you speaking of, you know, ABC, you know, general contractor is hiring, you know, Guy Andes who, you know, has been doing some plumbing around and, you know, maybe has a little bit of, you know, skills, but maybe not have gone through the licensing piece. Is that what are you referring to?
So under the current regulation, as long as you don't change the existing plumbing. So if you're simply replacing a fixture such as a sink or a toilet and no plumbing is moving, then you don't need a permit. When your example where you're hiring a guy who you know is good with pipes and things of that nature and can remodel my bathroom, that's where you're going to need a permit, and those are the individuals that we're looking to deter from doing this type of work. Hire a licensed a WSSC licensed plumber, and you're not subject to this fine.
And who then pays the fine? Is it the resident or is it the unlicensed plumber?
The unlicensed plumber.
Okay, and then how then will this information be distributed so that, you know, those who may not be licensed will know that they have to be licensed in order or face this new stiffer fine? Sometimes we put, you know, legislation in, but we don't make the community aware of what it is that we're doing. So how is this information going to be disseminated?
So how it's going to be disseminated is a question I'm not able to answer, because the existing code already requires you to be licensed to perform this work. So what happens is if a code inspector were to find an unlicensed unlicensed individual performing work, they would issue them a violation. The violation can be cured very, very easily through various brands. They can go and get licensed. They can cease doing the work, go get licensed, and then come back and do the work. That's one way to cure it. Or they can just stop doing the work themselves and what they should do is stop doing the work and refund the customer or the homeowner or resident who hired them to perform the work, and then they just go about their business, not performing this work anymore. I think I answered your question. I hope it did. So they get a notice of the violation. They don't automatically come down. There is an appeals process if they are issued a citation with the fine. They can go through the court system, all the way to the end of the court system if they so choose to appeal it. But I mean, to perform major work, I mean, you can't perform major electrical work without being licensed. You can't perform major plumbing work without being licensed. And this is just one more tool in the toolbox to make sure that folks are, it's the bad actors that we're going with. We had one individual who was pulling permits for unlicensed plumbers. My understanding is they were they know of at least 22 cases. So I mean, the most that person could be fined is $22,000 for a $1 million company who's doing a lot of business. $22,000 is dropping a bucket for its cost of doing business. So, but if we're able to find them a larger amount, it could put a little bit bigger damper in the business practices that they do.
So last question. So on that same example that you give, so it's a contractor who's pulling the permit for this unlicensed plumber. So is the contractor going to be fined, or is for pulling the permit, or is the plumber going to be fined?
Ultimately, we would the code inspector, what I was told by our regulatory services division is we would educate the plumber who's doing the work, saying that, look, you need to be registered, you need to be licensed. And we go after the person that's actually pulling the plumb, pulling the license, the larger violator.
So,
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, so it's, I'm sorry, Delegate Healy, so it's the contractor is what you're saying.
We
You
go
said the
after the
person.
contractor who's pulling the permit on
Yes.
behalf of the unlicensed plumber.
Right, okay. Delegate Healy and then Delegate Williams. You're muted, Delegate Healy.
Here we go. I just wanted to know if this is a problem throughout the state, if other agencies have this kind of setup, and if what you're asking for is similar to what's going on in other water and sewer agencies in the state, or this is a unique problem for WSSC.
So the state has the authority to issue this $5,000 fine right now. All we're asking for is parity with what the state has. I'm sure I don't know exactly what the numbers are of unlicensed plumbers performing work outside of our jurisdiction. I know we average approximately 45 violations a year.
Okay, let me just ask this question a different way, because I'm trying to. WSSC as a bi-county agency is a state agency, so you should automatically have the authority that the state has. So why does WSSC need this specific law if they don't need it for the water and sewer company in Baltimore or on the Eastern Shore? What is the difference?
Under Public Utilities Article 29-101, they issue that's where the progressive fine structure is, where first violation is 250. We have a set of our fine structures prescribed specifically for us under 29-101 of the Public Utilities Article, and we're asking for the same authority that the state board has. Thus, this bill today to grant us the authority to, in addition to, be able to issue that $5,000 fine.
Okay, thank you. That answers my question.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Delegate Williams.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Andy. So you mentioned that in these situations, if this were to occur, the plumber could stop doing the work and go obtain a permit, obtain a license. How long on average does it take for an individual to get a plumbing license?
I can get that answer for you. I don't know that answer right off the top of my head.
Okay.
I can get you
And I
that,
guess
that
my-
information. We test regularly as a regulatory authority. We do test regularly for that. I'd have to get the frequency of when that test is.
Okay. And then my other question is, I know with other professions, with nurses and other folks, in terms of getting licenses or getting relicensed, if their license is expired, has been greatly delayed because of COVID. And my question is the same holding true for individuals who need to obtain plumbing licenses? Are they experiencing that same delay and backlog like a lot of our other professions here in the state who have to obtain and maintain licenses in order to perform the jobs that they do?
I have not heard of any of this issue coming up either through any of the elected officials' offices or the county offices. But I can find out how long. So I'll find out the time frame of how long it takes to get tested and if there is a backlog of renewal.
Thank you. Those were all my questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Delegate Williams. Delegate Healy, do you have another one? Your hand is.
I'm sorry, I forgot to put it down.
That's okay. I actually just have a clarification based on Delegate Healy's last question, Guy. And then it's based on your answer, but I just want to make sure because I was taking notes. She asked, why you need it basically. And you said you just wanted to be put in parity with the state so that you could also have, I don't remember the code that you spewed out, but so that you could have the capability of the maximum penalty of up to 5,000. Is that correct? Did I hear that right?
So under Public Utilities Article 29-101, we're able to issue. We have a fine structure of $250 for the first violation. Fourth and subsequent violations is $1,000. Goes $255, $750 to $1,000.
Right. Like I'm not talking about exact numbers.
Right. So in addition to that fine, we would like to be able to impose the $5,000 fine. So if this is your 5th offense, we could be able to assess you a $6,000 fine if it meets the criteria of the bill prescribed.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. All right. Thank you. Any further questions or discussion for the members? Seeing none. Is there a motion on PGMC 10922?
I'll move favorable.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Delegate Healy. Seeing that there's a motion for favorable and it's been seconded, Mr. Brittner, can we take a roll call?
Sure. Vice Chair Harrison,
I vote aye.
Delegate Healy,
Aye.
Delegate Jones,
Yes.
Delegate Williams,
Aye.
Chair Valderrama.
I vote aye. That bill has moved favorable and it has passed. That is actually our last bill for the docket this morning. Latasha, could I ask you a quick question? I know we don't have very many more, but I do recall you saying that there was at least one that will be brought up during the late file bill hearing that we'll be having. So can you just quickly tell me the tally? We don't have a whole lot left.
Okay, one second.
Oh, I'm sorry, Delegate Healy, did you have a?
Sorry, how do I access the bills and the fiscal notes, whatever we have on the local bills before they get numbers, House bill numbers? I've tried during the last meeting of the delegation, somebody actually went in and showed me, did it for me. So I got the 22 because I only have 21 when I go on the website. So how do I find the local bills?
The bills are on the website, the Prince George's County House Delegation website. If it's a late file, it's not on there yet.
But I don't have anything from 2022. I have the 2021. Did they?
You have to go under legislation and then you have to go under 2022.
2022 didn't show up under legislation, only 21 did. That's why I don't know how to do it.
Looks like Delegate Williams provided a link.
Yeah, I just put the link in the chat for you, Delegate Healy.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Latasha. So I'm sorry, my question was, we have about how many left?
So we have one late file.
Okay.
bill.
Okay, outside the late file, to the ones that were timely submitted, we only have about.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, okay. Well, we're moving right along. Awesome.
No, 4, sorry.
And plus the late file.
Yes.
Okay. But those were, have they moved out of Montgomery County? Shane, do you know?
They have not. The only one that has moved out of Montgomery County is the delegate cards, one of the 322 that was taken up today.
Okay. Now, my next question, if I wanted to have, like, we're done with our docket, I just don't want to do anything unethical or not, correct. If I wanted to have further discussion with the members, does that have to be the open, what's the Public Act?
You could, the Open Meetings Act.
Yes, Open Meetings Act. Thank you.
You could close this meeting.
For executive.
You could, yes. And there are procedures for that, but in this instance, because this is a committee and not before the full delegation, you could just go into the closed session.
Okay. Well, if I would only take a couple minutes of the members' time, if I could have that privilege of doing so, to request the members. Okay, thank you. So for everyone else who was on this meeting, thank you for joining us and for being with us. We are done for this current session. We will be meeting again next week at 9 a.m. Thursday. Thank you. Thank you, Shane. But can we still stay on here, Latasha? Okay.
Yes.
But wait a minute, we need to stop the recording, right?
Yes, I will stop the recording.